Hey folks, it's Jared Mannanen from the website TahoeTrailGuide.com. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about traditional cross-country skiing in the backcountry. That's weird that it sounds funny for me to say cross-country skiing in the backcountry, because that's where it all came from, right? Is in the backcountry, or across country, cross-country. Anyway, I think a lot of people tend to view cross-country skiing nowadays as either something that's done on a groomed track and it's only an Olympic sport or a World Cup sport, or it's only restricted to skiing in a local meadow or a flat, area in your backyard. And that's one way that you can cross-country ski, there's no question. But there's so much more terrain once you start to open up the idea that you can venture into the backcountry. Granted, you do need to pick lower angle terrain, just because cross-country skis, no matter how wide they come, still aren't designed for steep descents. And I'm okay with that. I don't need to do the steepest terrain available. But one thing that I have found is that technique does matter, and today I'd like to show a little bit of technique that I've picked up over the years. And it's just basic classic diagonal striding technique. It's just still applicable in the backcountry, and that's one reason why I like to classic cross-country ski versus skate skiing. And I do enjoy skate skiing, but it's very limited in the backcountry. The versatility of classic cross-country skiing is what really appeals to me, because it allows me to travel and venture further into the backcountry safer and more efficiently. Today I'm using a 62 millimeter wide Fisher brand cross-country ski that has a pretty long scale pattern. Still has a camber though, so you do need to do classic diagonal striding. However, it's a little bit shorter than what I use on the track skis, and that makes it easier to do herringbone technique uphill around trees, and when there's terrain features that you have to negotiate. It also makes turning downhill a little bit easier, just because you don't have such of a long ski that you're trying to manipulate. So I'll show a few examples of how I travel in the backcountry. Keep in mind, none of the terrain that I'm negotiating on this little tour here is very steep, but it is fun because you get to glide going uphill and downhill. Hey folks, Jared here. Just gonna do a little voiceover while you're watching me yo-yo back and forth in front of you on your screen, much like a target at a carnival. A lot of people I know who have cross-country skis but have never actually learned or taken lessons. I always wonder what it actually looks like. At least this is my version of what it looks like. I know there's a million and one things that I could probably do to be a better skier, and I will continue to improve, but in the meantime, I think I do okay. What you're watching right now is just basically diagonal striding on a flat surface, and this is all in the backcountry, so to speak, or off track, however you want to phrase that. At this point, I'm actually laying tracks for myself just by going back and forth, but initially I didn't have any tracks, and it's perfect spring conditions in this video. There's a really solid base with maybe 2 inches of snow on top. And on this day, it was March 20th that I was filming, and it was just perfect spring conditions, a little bit of fresh snow. And what I'm showing right there is kind of a small shuffle, which most people are okay with doing, shuffling, walking, but then you can move into something more glide-like and diagonal stride-like. Here's from another angle, Me just in the backcountry breaking my own trail. And as I mentioned, these are about 62 millimeter wide skis. They're not super wide for the backcountry, but on a day like today when the snow is not very deep, they're perfect. If it was much deeper snow, I would either use my 88 millimeter wide skis or 112 millimeter wide cross-country skis. Both of those, as well as this set that I'm using, are more oriented toward off-track skiing. I wouldn't take them to a groomed resort just because they wouldn't fit in the tracks anyway. Unfortunately, I think cross-country skiing has been for some time a declining art. A lot of people have just gravitated toward the ease of getting to and from the ski resort and alpine skiing. You get to take the lift up, it's a lot less effort, and you get the best part. Well, to most people's enjoyment, the best part would be going down. I like going uphill, and as you can see, I'm doing a lot of it right now. These are some different looks at how you can negotiate terrain. In this example, I'm traversing from one angle to another just because going straight up may or may not be more effort than it's worth. But I do go straight up a lot of times. You know, again, that's depending on the steepness of the terrain. And this really isn't too steep, but I just wanted to show what some examples of traversing up a hill would look like. And I am using diagonal striding. I'm also transitioning to more of a herringbone and kind of just as well. So it's basically like speaking a language. Sometimes you're a little bit more fluent than others, and you just work with what you have. You form those sentences with the vocabulary that you know. And right now, I'm again diagonal striding, mixed in with a little bit of herringbone and kind of running. The point being is that you read the terrain, you manipulate your body so that you can appropriately handle the terrain that you're skiing on. There's some herringbone. I look like a gangly guy coming up there. But it works for me. And I'm sure you could probably point out a ton of my flaws, and I'm sure I could list a few of them myself. I have a habit of skiing a little too knock-kneed, so I'm really trying to work on putting my weight directly over my hip, over my knee, over my ankle. But again, it's all work in progress. And here I'm going to transition from doing some uphill stuff to going into downhill. Now this is probably my greatest weakness, and if you're an alpine skier, you'll see right away that, you know, these stem Christie turns, they're okay, but I really should be weighting that downhill ski. That time I just leaned over. It's almost embarrassing for me to watch, but just to give you a look at what it can look like going downhill on cross-country skis. Here are some small step turns that I'm doing, where you just basically step your way around a turn. Going back to a modified stem Christie or whatever you want to call it, where you start out in a snowplow. Once you're around the corner, you bring that other ski parallel with the first. I'm late on all of these because I'm probably pretty nervous about falling down. But again, you make it down safe, you regulate your speed, and that's kind of the key for when traveling in the backcountry. And here are some more real short step turns. You don't have to carve going down every aspect. You can actually just step your way around, and that's one of the beautiful things about cross-country skis is that free heel. Your feet can act independently from one another. You're not planted in, oh God, just leaning uphill way too much here. And again, things for me to work on. The corrective measure is to touch that downhill knee with that outside hand. So it's all good. It's all fun. Just doing some stem Christie turns and trying to have fun going down a low angle. Again, my point with making this video wasn't so much to make a how-to video or to show you specific details of each technique, but rather to show you what it can look like. Again, I have a lot of friends who do own cross-country skis, but mostly they just wind up walking around the woods in the snow as if they were wearing snowshoes. There's nothing wrong with this. It's just not nearly as fun as actually using the ski as it was designed to work. Okay, I'm wrapping it up and heading home. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. I also encourage you to subscribe to my YouTube channel as well as checking out my website, TahoeTrailGuide.com. Thank you. Hey folks, it's Jared Manninen from the website TahoeTrailGuide.com. Kind of out of breath there from climbing up